Welcome everyone to a Warhammer Horus Heresy unboxing. Never thought I'd say that. So, I've had some Horus Heresy over the years, mainly for collecting, because I'm a 50% collector and player of 40k, and some of the 30k stuff, the Horus Heresy stuff, will transfer over into 40k. Now, why do I love 40k so much? It's the Horus Heresy. But I've never been gripped by the Horus Heresy game. Now, I don't know if it's because it's mainly Marine versus Marine, or I like to keep up to date with the current rules, and Horus Heresy traditionally has played a older edition rule set. But I've always enjoyed the fluff, and I have quite a lot of the books. So, I have picked up Betrayal of Health, and that was a lovely box, and I started painting them up as World Eaters. I never picked up Burning of Prospero because I'm not a big Spaceball fan, as in model wise. Never felt the urge to collect them, even though I really do like their books. So Battle for the Fang, for example, is such a fantastic book, and I certainly am not a fan of the Thousand Sons. Although Magnus himself, he's the boy. I mean, he's a Boy Scout. You know, he tried to tell his dad what was happening. He did no wrong. So, here's the Horus Age of Darkness box. It's come out. I thought I'd pick up a copy because there is a shed load of plastic in this box. This box is girthy. It's got some thickness to it. It is a beautiful, beautiful looking box. And the back is no exception. So the lovely artwork on the front, on the back it tells you the contents of the box. So, I was mega excited when I heard there was going to be a new plastic Spartan. So, Spartan Assault Tank is a Land Raider tank that has been turned up to 11. It's such a nice looking model. But I have heard some bad things about Horus Heresy resin in the past. Not every model is warped or bent or needs a bit of green stuff, but I have heard a few horror stories. Now, I know in the early days of the resin for the Horus Heresy, there were some fairly awful sculpts. I mean, myself, I picked up one of the first Primarchs, Angrom, and he did have some faults with him. But I really do like the look of the models on the whole. But I have to admit, I enjoy working with plastic way more than resin. So, the Horus Heresy, they brought out more plastic Marines. So I like Betrayal of Health, which is cool in its own way, because that was a really nice kit. Multi-part kit as well, which I'm a fan of multi-part kits. I really am. Do like to convert, and for me, that's half of the hobby side of it. I do like the conversions. And there was a plastic Contemptor in the Betrayal of Health box as well, but it looks very much like they're going all plastic now. So the Rhino is plastic, and that's come out. There is a Kratos tank, which it looks absolutely mean as. Definitely looking boss. I would love to pick up a copy of one of them. I will do. It will happen. But yeah, it is great to see that these guys are going plastic. So once again, multi-part kits. And in this box, you have 2 Praetors as well. So, Praetor. Okay, so, in this box, if you didn't know, the Horus Heresy is a civil war between both sides of Space Marines. One turns traitor, and the other remaining loyalist. So, if you're expecting to see the lists that you can build in this box, what are your weapon options, what are your legion options, it's not in this box. This box purely is a bucket of models, lots and lots of models, and not for a bad price really. So I can't tell you really what I paid for it, but so it's approximately around £145, £150, that kind of ballpark. You can get it online. But it comes with the Age of Darkness rulebook. So the Age of Darkness rulebook will tell you how to play the game, the many different special rules that you get with different weapons, like ordnance weapons and things like that. Tells you about your basic stat line, so your movement characteristic, your ballistics, things like that. But it will not tell you about the rules for your legions. However, they will tell you a little bit about the background of each legion, which is pretty nice. So there are 2 more books coming out. One for the traitors, as you guessed, and one for the loyalists. So Horus Heresy has split equally the Marines down the middle. So 9 stayed loyalist, 9 were traitor. So you'll find 9 in the loyalist and 9 in the traitor. But what's in this box? In this box, you have the 2 praetors, the big thick rulebook, the Spartan assault tank, the Condemned Dreadnought, 10 Cataphracti Terminators, which 5 were in the Betrayal of Caliph box, and they're so cool. So you can have them with the assault variant, or you can have them with the bolters and a bit more of a shooty mix. But 40 tactical marines in Mark 6 power armor. So what's Mark 6? It's the Beakies. So commonly known as the Beakies, the Beaky Marines. Whereas in the Betrayal of Caliph box, they had the more of a classic head. So I will open the box and you'll see how many sprues are in the box. You're going to love this. So old school Warhammer 40k fans will be pleased to see that templates are back. So you've got your Flamer templates and your Blast templates. So the good old templates are back. So in the current edition of 40k, you roll a d6 for Flamers, for example, to tell you how many shots. Back in the day, you had to place these bad boys over enemy models to see how many of them are affected by the Flamer. And if you went parallel to a unit, so rather than shooting the unit head on, you went sideways, you could always get a lot more. These good old fashioned blast markers, you had scatter dice for, which are in this box. So I still have loads of old Flamers and blast tokens. I was always thinking, what can I do with it? I was thinking maybe melt it, heat it, and make some kind of shields, like an invulnerable save kind of shields. I have seen people online curve them and turn them into some kind of shield for Tau and things like that, which looks wicked, but I'm glad I didn't do it. Not that I need more than one set of Flamers and blast markers for this game, but I'm glad I didn't get rid of it. It was more nostalgia for me. But the good old whippy sticks are back. So breaking these off the sprue, there is 2 sticks with 18 inches marked on them. And call them whippy sticks because you guessed it, that's right. I could do that all day. Madam Whiplash, eat your heart out. But here is one of the main reasons why you'd pick up the box. Look at the sprue. You can't even see through the grids on grids on grids of the sprue. There is no bottom to this box. It goes on forever. So I'm not going to show you each individual sprue, but the detail is amazing for these tanks. They do, I've been told, fit a lot nicer than the resin equivalent. Here's one of the Praetors, which I might pick up a duplicate for, because for the World Eaters, that axe looks pretty awesome. Looks more like an Executioner. Once again, Games Workshop excel having high quality detailed plastic miniatures. See the banners there, little symbols on the fists, and they're not just the old classic sidearm pouches. You can actually see, and the shadow of the camera is in the way, the detail on the pouches itself are phenomenal. So it's not just a a slab of leather with a handle sticking out of it to imply that's a pistol. So these are the Califracti. These were the same in Betrayal at Calth. So you can see there fists, lightning claws, flamers, chain fists, phenomenal detail. When this came out, it was bonkersly good. I loved it. And now, like I said, you've got your bolter variants there if you want to assemble them with bolters. Now there's 10 of them in this box. There's 5 in the previous box. So it's a very, very good price. So your standard B keys, and I do like the fact that you've got the different kinds of bolters, the chainsaw bayonets as well, which I really like. I do have some RBT01 Marines. I've kept a couple on the sprue just for nostalgia reasons, but I did clip a couple of the chain blades off, put on the bottom of the bolters and Betrayal at Calth. But the detail, like on the all-spec scanner there, very nice too. And you even have bayonet types of blades you can stick to the bottom of the bolters. Weapons are excellent. Do like that power sword there. It's really hard to pick out the detail, I do apologise. Let's see if we can get rid of that shadow on the camera. There you go, kiddos. That's a lot better, isn't it? A bit brighter. 3 lamps make all the difference. There's the beaky helmet. You see the detail on the arm. Do like those chain bayonets. So I did say to myself, I'm going to paint these guys up as Alpha Legion. So that's some of the weapon options you get for the Spartan assault tank. But seeing those chain blades, I do feel like that'd be a nice addition for some World Eaters. So I'm say I've got Betrayal at Calth box. I've painted that for World Eaters. That is a cool blade. You can see right through it. For one of the Praetors. Lovely looking handle as well. Very flamboyant. Not just a chunk of metal. W plastics are phenomenal. I do love them. Like I said, those little pouches. Brilliant levels of detail. So a lot of them are repeats, obviously. Marine. So many Marine sprues, which I've shown you, so you don't need to see them again. You can always pause the video and have a look for yourself. Several hatch options. Even the Marine sticking out the hatch. It's a very interesting looking chest plate there for the power armor. It's pretty boss. So I'm going to go with Alpha Legion purely because I have already 2 Contemptor Dreadnoughts, several tanks for my World Eaters. I've got 30 old school tactical Marines, as in from the Betrayal at Calth box. Do have Red Butchers. I've got the Califracti. So I thought, why not start with a new Legion? And why not go for Alpha? Love the books. I do find there's not that many books for Alpha Legion actually. That's a fair chunk of plastic for that tank. Look at the size of that. But what I have read is brilliant. Really do like the Alpha Legion. I think the colour looks beautiful as well. I like the fluff behind. Are they loyalist? Are they traitor? And they were told that the Horus Heresy was going to happen. So what is their overall goal? Do look at that symbol as well. Nice Eye of Horus there. So I like the fluff, I like the colour scheme, and in the rules it does state that they can use units from other legions as well. So I can keep my other legions painted up, as in my world leaders painted up. I did pick up years ago some Gal Warback, which are the word bearers. That's just to protect the book from the scratchy sprue. So that was the Kratos tank I was telling you about. There is the Rhino. Kind of fractally painted up there, it's pretty nice. Beautiful looking models. So I can use, for example, Red Butchers or the Gal Vorback as Alpha Legion. Here is the Hoofing Great Book, which we'll get to some rules in a minute. The quick reference rules sheet, so it shows you the how to hit table, how to wound table. This is more like the Warhammer I remember playing. I mean, I did pick up the second edition box, but I never really played it. I was too young really to understand what was going on. The instructions, which look pretty clear. And the Contemptor is multi-part, which is nice because in Betrayal at Calf he had a very wooden stance. Okay. And underneath you'll find your bases, your dice, and your transfers. So the transfers are for Imperial Fists and Sons of Horus, more bases there. I suppose they can't supply transfers for every single legion. So, Age of Darkness, Age of the Imperium of Mankind, and the Legionis Astartes. So basically, a history of what has happened up to the Horus Heresy, what the Age of the Emperor was all about. The Imperium of Man and the beloved Space Marines. So check that out. That is some amazing artwork there. Look at that guy. Dark Age of Technology. So this is building up to everything that has happened before. Like I said, you can pause at any time and have a look at some of the artwork. I'm not going to go in it page by page, but then it starts going into the Astartes, the different types of armor, different types of weapons. I do have a Mark II sitting right next to me, which needs to be dropped in Detto and repainted. It's horrific. I will show you now on camera, so you'll have a good laugh at the skills I had way back then. Definitely needs dropping in Detto and repainting. I might go for a banner again, but certainly not that banner, and not going for Blood Angels for 30k. Okay, then we start going to the actual legions itself. Starting with the first legion, the Dark Angels. And I do quite like the Dark Angels 30k paint scheme. Not bad for traitors. Emperor's Children. Iron Warriors. I'm skipping a few. Space Wolves. Glorious Blood Angels. Funny it opened up on that page. It's almost like someone's been looking at it on a regular basis. Iron Hands. And it goes all the way through. War Bearers. Raven Guard. Alpha Legion are the last legion in the book. But yes, it has all 18 legions in here as a brief rundown, like the heraldry, a little bit of history, the biggest battles they've won, such as the Silence, Custodes, Assassins, Imperial Troops, Mechanicum. So none of the rules, but just a bit of backstory. So then we come into the rules itself. Another big glorious bit of artwork there of the galaxy. Core rules. Now, the core rules are fairly basic, as in everybody has a stat line like you're used to seeing in 8th or 9th edition, with a few slight tweaks. So now you have initiative, that's the I on the table. This represents the swiftness of a model. Models with a low initiative characteristic are slower to react than other models with a higher initiative characteristic. In close combat, initiative dictates the order of which models strike first. So there's your basic stat line over there. And it tells you about unit coherency. It tells you about what dice are what, how you measure distances, blast templates, line of sight, and it talks about the turns. So start of a phase, end of the phase, reactions, things like that. So reactions are something you can do when you are reacting to somebody, funny enough. So that's quite nice. That's almost like a stratagem in a way, but without being bogged down by stratagems. I do find playing 9th edition 40k, sometimes it would be nice to have fewer. Very much like AOS. They don't have stratagems, but they do have the basic abilities you can pick in a turn if you want to add extra armor, if you want to add +1 to hit, things like that. I think that was a great idea. I do like that in AOS. Even though I don't play Age of Sigmar, I do think 40k is being bogged down by that now. Initially when the game came out, it was a lot faster because they want to get rid of this kind of thing. By this kind of thing, I mean the core mechanics in this game are pretty basic, but the specialist rules, I find I flip through the pages a lot. And having the traitor handbook as well, because some of the special rules for my traitors, fun enough, are in that book, not in the core book. So if you were firing with a weapon, the weapon might have 3 different lots of rules with it, 2 of which is in one book, for example, one's in another book, so you'd have to keep the books open. And that's only because my memory is not fantastic. I'm sure if I play loads of these games, that'll stick. So when we had 8th come out, 8th edition 40k, and it had most of the rules on one data sheet, it was a breath of fresh air. Brilliant. They're getting worse now. The stratagems are on different pages, obviously, and rules are starting to bleed out into other pages, so you're losing that now. You're losing what the game used to be about. And that's just my personal opinion. So I'm sure playing a lot more games at Horus Heresy, I will get better at it. I will get better at, oh, this is what this rule does, and it's drummed into you. But the basic phases are all the same. So you've still got your movement phase, which is pretty basic. You can probably work out how to move models. With your shooting phase, not a lot's changed there. There's your wound tables and your hitting tables. That is slightly different than before. The assault phase. So that's the hit and the wound tables there. So I'll zoom in just for a second so you can see what's going on then. So if a attacking weapon skill is higher than someone's defending skill, you can see, let's say someone's a 10, the defense skill is 1. So generally speaking, if it's the same as, it's 4s. So 10 and 10 is 4, 4 and 4 is 4, for example. Is it better than? If it's better than the defense, it's 3s. If it's twice as good, it's 2s. So there's not much difference between that and currently what's happening in 40k. But then it's the toughness again is 4s if it's the same as. So that's pretty nice. Before, I didn't really like the table of wounds in the old edition of Horus Heresy. And then you have your morale phase. And that's basically it. But it's when it comes down to all the additional small rules, subtypes, character types, psychic powers. And you may notice, for those who've never played Horus Heresy or even 7th edition before, your armour on your tank has front, side and rear. Sometimes the rear armour on a vehicle is a bit squishier. And it also comes with a helpful little picture, so roughly that's where it is. The only thing I remember, not the only thing I remember, one of the things I remember way back when I used to play 7th is sometimes people argue if you have got a squishy bit on the rear of your armour, is that in the back or was that on the side? That's probably the person I was playing against, not necessarily the rule set wasn't very clear. But people will try arguing the case sometimes if you're playing against that guy. I don't think they can really change that in the game. It tells you if a vehicle is getting intervening line of sight, cover and whatnot, transport, disembarking, about the terrain itself, the terrain rules. This is the start of the special rules. So, for example, Adamantium Will, Armour Bane, all these specialist rules they can in the core book. This is the generic specialist rules, if that makes sense. As in, everybody has access to this. It's only when you get into, for example, when I mentioned the Traitor book, certain weapons in that book will have special rules in that book as well. So there is quite a few special rules. Like I said, the more you play, I'm sure, the more they will get stuck in your brain. And if you're younger than me, it's probably easier to pick it up. But it goes on. Obviously all alphabetical order. We're in the P section there, the R section. Yeah. It's quite a lot. It's quite a lot. So there's the special rules I often think stops the game. You have to open the book, have a look at the special rule. What does that do again? But like I said, if you play this game once a week for a year, I'm sure you will be looking through the book quite so much. And that's my, not real beef with it, but it's the only thing I thought. It slowed the game down, and sometimes unnecessarily. Some of the artwork here, so some people's Sons of Horus, Iron Hands, Word Bearers, Death Guard. It tells you about the Force Organization chart. So the minimum requirements you need to play the game, what slots have to be filled. So troops, for example, generally are your line troops. HQ are your characters, for example. But no, the showcase, it's always nice. I love to see terrain like that on show. I remember back in 2013 going to a games day and seeing all the great layouts, like when the Imperial Fists are breaching ships and things like that. Always looks amazing. Quick reference guide at the back, but like I said, the basic rules aren't bad. It's all the specialist rules you've got to try to remember. Vehicle damage tables at the back is quite helpful, but if you're like me, you would probably put a nice ribbony bit where the special rules are, so you can quickly access that. So that's the basic rundown. I haven't gone through hardly any of the specialist rules, because that could be an hour video in itself. But as per always, the artwork is lovely. Obviously, well done Games Workshop. Zoom out a bit there, you don't need to see my grubby paint desk. You just want to see that epic picture. So it'd be interesting to get a few games on the channel, see how this plays out. But for me, Horus Heresy really feels like it's a great collector's game. I'm not taking that away from the actual game itself. For me personally, I can't wait to paint these guys up. Use some nice weathering techniques, really grubby them up. Because when I first painted for 40k, I found my Blood Angels were too crisp, too clean. These guys were really in the trenches for ages. They didn't get back to buff their armor. You know, they were just covered in dirt, covered in grime, covered in blood, gore. And I just love that aspect. It feels very much more realistic. And I do like the old trench warfare. Right, thank you very much for watching. And hope you enjoyed this. Hope it made sense. If you like a more in-depth review of the book, I will go into it at some stage if people are interested. And thank you for watching. Take care, and please subscribe for some more great content.